having me first off. And yeah, so I have worked with grief and many emotions for a very long time in my life, in movement and in meditation, but did not realize how profound all of that work was going to be a blanket for me when I lost my son. My son was 21 years old, and he passed away from a tragic car accident. And he was my only son. So, you know, this was my life. This was my everything. And, you know, there's no preparation for the loss of a child. And regardless of whether you knew something was wrong, you know, my son was struggling. You know, he was a young boy who had struggles, but there was never the preparation. There was always the existence of each day is going to get better and he'll grow out of things. And so life was just moving on. And at one point there was just the sudden halt. And I wasn't in town when this happened. I got the phone call. So on top of me not, you know, having the opportunity to say goodbye, I was also not even in the vicinity when it had happened. So everything just kind of halted in my life. And the sadness always takes over, but there were so many more emotions that came so quickly and so frequently in the first few months that I was just so confused. I was confused as to why I was so angry when people would speak to me. I was I was lost, obviously because I had never experienced anything like this before, but I was lost. And I realized as I began to put my feet back on the ground and utilize the tools that I had been given and gifted prior to losing my son, that I just had to bring those back into my life. I just had to remember, because for the first 3 months, I was tone deaf to anything. There was just nothing that was going to motivate me other than just dealing with my son's loss. He was a beautiful, beautiful young man. He had such a beautiful energy of happiness and could walk into a room and make friends with anyone. And so there's a big shift and there's a big loss in my life. And what do I do with this? You know, what am I supposed to do next? And I worked in corporate world at the time of my son's loss. So that was an extravagant change in my life because I had to go back to work. We all have to get back to our lives. And I had already been on the path of putting meditation and movement and vibration in my life. That was going to be something that was going to show up for me eventually, but it was always on the eventual list, you know, eventually I'll get there.
Yeah.
And after my son passed away, I realized these are the tools that are going to keep me grounded. These are the tools that are going to continue to remind me, today I'm going to put my feet on the floor, because don't let that grief lift you up so high that you can't get back down.